Okay, so we got a video called the best exploration in gacha gaming. I don't know what kind of game this refers to. I'm guessing it's going to be Wuthering Waves, seeing as it's Saintontas. If you don't know who Saintontas is at this point, I've covered him on my second channel a little bit, and I've talked about him in the past, but again, he's been killing it recently. 30k views in 2 days, absolutely insane. 2.3k likes, 59 dislikes. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, on these kind of sites, kind of being negative about this video, if like saying, you know, this was typical Kuro shield behavior. But again, I just want to kind of look at this, kind of get to the bottom of whether this video is kind of controversial or not, because it's got 2.3k likes. Let's not ignore this. A lot of people do like this video. So let's see what it's all about.
Right here is probably the least used feature in Wuthering Waves.
Okay.
The ability to climb walls. There's
True.
nobody to blame here either.
I don't think I've ever even seen that animation, I'll be real. I can't even remember the last time I climbed up a wall. You just kind of glide and stuff instead.
Especially considering how many other forms of travel there are. It's clear for any person who's played more than 3 minutes of Wuthering Waves that the exploration and overworld navigation in this game is absolutely unparalleled. And
it is better. I definitely think that with a lot of the kind of grappling stuff as well, there's a lot of kind of grappling abilities and like the running around and not having your stamina kind of mess up unless you're kind of in the presence of an enemy. I think that's really cool, and it definitely lets you get around the world faster. And, you know, coming from Genshin Impact myself, it's very annoying. You know, we all know, if you played Genshin, if you played an open world game, which doesn't have a lot of this kind of stuff that Wuthering Waves has, it's very refreshing to have a lot of these like kind of movement techniques that are very enjoyable and just kind of keep this kind of stuff going. So yeah, very cool.
Every update Kuro has made to the game, they've only made it better, adding new features while limiting power creep across new character releases. But it certainly doesn't help that the only competition when it comes to exploration is everyone's favorite example of the sunk cost fallacy, Genshin Impact. Wuthering Waves' exploration.
Okay, I think I can see why people didn't like this video. It's the Hoyo shields, man. They're taking over. They're coming after Saintontas. No, but I definitely think that Genshin Impact's kind of exploration and overall traversal around the world is much, much more inferior to Wuthering Waves. I don't think anyone could deny that, surely. Obviously, there are some games that are better, that are kind of, you know, better at moving around and stuff than Wuthering Waves. But in terms of Genshin v Wuthering Waves in particular, Wuthering Waves definitely takes the crown for this one, in my opinion. Maybe some person has a better kind of explanation for why Genshin, you know, is better. But I definitely think with a lot of these abilities with the grapple, as I said, with a lot of the other stuff with Echo kind of riding too, I think that, yeah, Wuthering Waves is just so much better.
Tools and its overall player experience is so good that the industry leader within the gacha action RPG genre, with nearly 4 years of operation as a complete monopoly, is now copying these features completely. Don't believe me? You only have to take a look at every single limited release since Natlan launched. The only thing is that
I didn't even kind of put into thought about these characters. Obviously, you know, Wuthering Waves, a lot of these traversal abilities are mainly centered around the game itself. So the actual game of Wuthering Waves, no matter what character you use, you can do this grappling thing, you can climb, you can sprint around without losing stamina and stuff like that. Whereas Genshin Impact have kind of gone for a similar kind of thing with Kinnich and also Xilonen as well, with some like really cool features that do let you traverse the world more, but they've more done it with their characters, which I don't think is as good of a move, because obviously, you know, Genshin Impact, you have to pull for that character to actually be able to get those traversal skills. And obviously, if you don't like Xilonen or you don't like Kinnich, then obviously you're not going to be pulling on these characters just for the traversal thing, which again is going to make a lot of players feel left out because, you know, they can't move around as well as everyone else is. Exploration kits locked behind limited characters in Genshin is a choice. Yeah, exactly. They want you to pull this character so that you can traverse around the world well because they know it sucks. They know it sucks to actually walk around and kind of just glide super slowly and not really change anything after 4 years, maybe even, it's almost 5 years now. Yeah, it's been a long time and they still haven't changed a lot of these traversal things, and Wuthering Waves is out here like blowing them out of the water and even adding new stuff in newer updates before Genshin Impact has even done anything, which I think is absolutely insane.
Each of these new features are in.
We'll give you quality of life updates, but you have to roll for a limited. Yeah, exactly. And even like the other quality of life changes, which actually do change the game and stuff like that, they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we'll give you a quality of life change, but also like it's not going to be exactly what you want. You know those presets that you wanted with your artifacts. Well, we're going to kind of give them to you, but like at the same time not. Oh, you know that artifact kind of crafting stuff? Yeah, it's going to take you like all of your materials ever to actually make one. Shorekeeper has an exploration kit. No. Doesn't she have auto-collect flowers and float around like a butterfly? Yeah, I do think that's a factor in a character, but I definitely think that Wuthering Waves is still adding stuff to the game, you know? They're adding stuff to the actual game itself. Even if they do have kind of traversal stuff with characters, I think that's fine. I don't think it's bad not to, I don't think it's bad to add traversal features to characters. And I think, although Genshin Impact are adding traversal features and Wuthering Waves are two characters, the difference is Wuthering Waves are adding traversal things to their game as well, whereas Genshin Impact aren't. So Wuthering Waves aren't expecting you to pull these characters just to, walk around the world a bit quicker, whereas Genshin Impact are saying, hey, get this character right now and you'll be able to move around the world a little bit better. And you have to get that character. You can't just, ignore it. But again, I don't think a lot of Shorekeeper's abilities do have that much to be desired in terms of traversal. I don't really use her for traversing around the world that much. So I don't really see, why it would be that bad, but again,
individually locked to a single character, restricted to a single region, and perhaps most importantly of all, paywalled through their gacha. In Genshin Impact, you can get the same exploration experience as a single free Wuthering Waves character. You just have to pull 3 limited 5-star.
The stamina consumption is kind of too much. Shorekeeper will win in a dash but lose in a marathon. Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, I haven't really kind of experimented with that kind of stuff, but again, it's more about the kind of game traversal things that they've actually had an update, because if we compare them, Wuthering Waves have went in with some much better ideas than Genshin Impact, and Genshin Impact, let's just remember, they haven't really updated anything to do with the traversal in terms of the broader kind of perspective of characters, not just on a character, but in terms of actually in the game, like gliders, stuff like that. They haven't actually changed any of that at all since they released the game, pretty much. Whereas Wuthering Waves, they started off knowing that it sucked in Genshin, so, they made it better, and they, added a lot of this stuff because they know it sucks, and then they also added even more traversal things later on in future updates, and we're not even at version 2.0 yet, which I think is really, really good. And obviously, Genshin Impact know that this sucks. They know that a lot of this kind of traversal stuff sucks. That's why they're bringing out characters that can move around the world better, and so they know, hey, this is kind of getting bad. Oh, what should we do but also make more money? Well, you traverse around the world with a character that you pulled for like $100. That's great for Genshin Impact, but, it's not very great for players.
And stay in a single region of the map. There's a reason why all of Genshin's new features mirror the tools that Wuthering Waves has had since launch. There's a reason why Kuro's updates have been focused on quality of life rather than new travel methods that are blatantly better than others. It's because Wuthering Waves, from its baseline systems all the way to its individual gadgets, has the best exploration in gacha gaming, and will likely hold that title for the future.
I don't know about gacha gaming in general. Again, I haven't played every gacha game ever, so I couldn't really tell you if it was the best one in gacha gaming, but if we're comparing it between Genshin and Wuthering Waves, then yeah, it's definitely better. And, other Hoyoverse games, you can't really compare them, like Honkai and Xilonen Zero, because, again, you don't really do much traversal stuff that, really makes any difference, so you can't really compare those ones. But again, with some other games that aren't Hoyoverse, there may be some better kind of stuff out there. Maybe Tower of Fantasy has some better stuff, or I don't really know some other ones that are open world. But, there's some other open world games out there who probably, have some better abilities than Genshin. But again, I haven't played every single gacha game. What is the worst gacha game you've ever played? Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't really know, to be honest. To be honest, I don't really like Brown Dust that much, even though I still play it. I don't really like the gameplay of Brown Dust. So I'd probably have to say that one, but I don't actually hate it. It's just it's on the lowest kind of tier out of the ones I played.
Today we'll be diving into why this is the case, breaking down what makes Wuthering Waves' exploration so fulfilling, why other developers are scrambling to integrate these features into the game, and how Wuthering Waves' new additions to exploration have been and will be better than their competitors, both in the present and the future. It's clear from the business practices seen on both sides that one company has a lot more respect for their players and their past expenditures than others. As always, if you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. One of the greatest parts of wuwa's exploration
is, by the way, I definitely think that, this is just another extension of the whole devs listened meme. I hate saying it, there's a lot of things going around in the community being like, devs listened, oh, they did this. But I definitely think that Kuro Games adding a lot of this stuff to the game and still updating it is just kind of furthering the point of, they are very community focused and that they want to, make their players happy. Obviously, they do want to make money. It's a gacha game. Obviously, they all want to make money. But I definitely think they are a little bit more community focused than obviously Genshin is. and a lot of the Hoyoverse games are. Now, I definitely think that with Zenless Zone Zero, Hoyoverse has actually kind of improved their overall, I don't know, rapport with a lot of the community. I definitely think they have been more community focused for that game. But with Genshin, it's just kind of like, let's feed the pigs with their slop and let's just kind of get out of there and work on a game that we actually care about. But yeah, it is very cool to see that Kuro Games is still kind of listening with a lot of this stuff.
Is the fact that every single gadget or shortcut is available to every single character. It could be the grappling hook, the echo slotted into your active skill, or simply every character's default infinite out of combat stamina and their ability to run up walls. The fact of the matter is that regardless of who you've pulled or what team composition you're running in the overworld, you have a massive variety of tools available that can streamline your experience dramatically.
There is a lot of things that you can actually use in Wuthering Waves, and I think a lot of the characters have actually been really well created to actually give you a very good experience for a first-time player and just getting into the game quickly. Whereas a lot of other games, you know, with Genshin and stuff, obviously you got a kind of, you know, some alright characters, but you never really use them again unless you had like some kind of obsession with them. So it is really good to see that people still use a lot of these, like, you know, older characters now. Now, obviously this might be a different case in future versions because Genshin's much older, so people aren't going to use these 4-star characters or whatever that were given to them at the start of the game. But with Wuthering Waves, it will be very interesting to see how much people actually use these older characters in the future. Can't wait for another open world gacha like As You Familiar and NTE, so that Saintontas has a new game to compare with wuwa. Kind of boring here in Genshin comparison. Yeah, it is kind of boring. And I definitely think that I'm going to be covering a lot of NTE in the future, and As You Familiar, I'm really excited to see what they can do with gacha games and just the open world genre in general. Because again, the trailers look insane, and I'm definitely going to be covering both of them, playing all of them. We'll be on stream playing them. So yeah, it is a very interesting, you know, thing to be thinking about.
There's no need at all to craft specialized parties that leverage built-in character abilities to do more than just sprint in the overworld until your stamina runs out. The end result is absolute freedom in who you play in the overworld. You don't feel like you're wasting your time or playing suboptimally by not slotting or owning the character. You're not pulling characters strictly for the massively improved experience they give you in the overworld. And the Kuro devs aren't using quality of life as FOMO to increase their banner sales. However, some characters do have slight advantages over others, like Gion's ability to close distance in the air, or Shorekeeper's slightly enhanced auto-collecting butterfly sprint. But at the end of the day,
I definitely do think that's fine, as long as the kind of quality of life and everything is okay. As I was saying, there is a difference. If you improve the quality of life of exploration and add exploration stuff to characters, then you're only further improving it. Whereas Genshin, it's staying the same, and then they're forcing you to pull for characters, which again, I think is much worse. Maybe you disagree, but yeah, it's very clear what kind of Hoyoverse's stance is there, and that they just want to make more money. That's pretty much it.
These abilities are less efficient than the echo skills, which any character can equip that serve the same purpose. The Cyan Herring goes further than Gian and resets your air dodge, while the Inferno Rider's hold is a lot faster than Shorekeeper, and the auto-collection range of the Junrock is wider and completely automated. These character abilities are built into their kits, but they're objectively a worse version of what every character can already use. It's the complete polar opposite compared to another gacha title, where characters with no exploration mechanics built into their kit drive some of the most sluggish, unresponsive, and slow-paced experience.
It is a kind of weird, like, what do you call it, contrast whenever you play characters that don't have an exploration kind of thing to it. I think that is what makes kind of Genshin feel bad in terms of traversal, because you have all of these new characters coming out, like Kinnich, like Xilonen, who have all of these really cool traversal new updates. Wow, very cool. But then, yeah, you have characters like the Raiden Shogun here, who does have some very cool combat abilities, and I really do like her combat abilities, but also, why are you going to traverse with her? Like, bro. But I think it is okay. It's not, like, too bad, just because you have this party of 4. Obviously, you can add a character that can traverse well. Maybe, you know, you have a Yelan, someone like that who links up with Raiden Shogun, and then you can just switch between the two. But I do think that it does kind of make some characters seem better when they're not actually. They just kind of traverse a bit better, which I think is a kind of bad thing, and it doesn't really add much to the game. And I hope that they do either stick with a lot of these traversal abilities, or they give it up. Because, again, they should, you know, what Hoyoverse should be doing, they should be adding quality of life changes to the game itself, not to the characters, not to, you know, some of this weird, like, oh, Kinnich can fly through the air and grapple stuff. Like, oh, great. No, they should be adding it to the game in general. They should be adding it to, you know, a lot of the accounts, like no matter what character you're playing, so that all the characters have a good experience whenever traversing the world, instead of some of them, which, yeah, just makes the game seem a whole lot slower and sluggish, especially if you only have these characters.
This is possible. This became even more evident as Genshin released more regions with absurd levels of verticality and hard-to-reach objectives, while conveniently releasing characters who could bypass all of these obstacles at the exact same time. The Genshin devs manufacture problems and sell the solution. They design their overworlds with the intention of creating inconvenience, annoyances, and frustration if you don't save the resources for or spend on the on-banner character. They region lock, time gate, and reset progression across every single helpful.
I think that is where like Genshin kind of get you as well. I mean, obviously, as I said, I've pulled for Xilonen recently, and it does feel really good to play her and like use her in the world. But I can tell, you know, there's a lot of people who don't want to pull for her, and obviously it's going to suck for them even more if you don't pull for these characters. Now, obviously, I'm fine because I pulled for the character. By the way, got it free to play, didn't even spend, don't worry. Yeah, no, it's really like annoying to see that, you know, there's some people, if you don't pull on that character, then maybe you're missing out on something that could be enjoyable, like the traversal stuff, and it just makes the game just a whole lot worse in general. V regrets pulling her? Yeah, no, I saw that. I mean, again, I forgot what his points were exactly for that. I don't think she's like the most amazing character, insane character in the world. I think that she's alright, she's fine, and she's very good for a lot of the kind of shredding abilities that she has, and also I just think she looks cool. Like, that's the main reason why I pulled her, and I'm pretty happy with, you know, pulling her, and that's why I say
it in the game with each new area, requiring a massive amount of commitment and playtime to get anything close to a cohesive exploration experience, unless you decide to inconvenience yourself as a player even more and constantly alt-tab with the aid of third-party tools. Kuro, on the other hand, gives every single solution to the player or lets them grind those solutions through mobs in the overworld.
To be fair, Genshin actually added a new feature very, very recently, which I used for my Xilonen, which was, it actually showed you where a lot of the materials were around the map, if you wanted to find them. So I thought that was really cool that they added it as a kind of quality of life thing. Obviously, there's a ton that they could do better, but that is a very, you know, Hoyoverse listened for once moment.
Overworld, and unlocks an incredible number of helpful tools within hours of starting the game. Players gain immediate access to the grappling hook in the first 30 minutes, and amazing tools like the loot mapper and portable waypoint are only a few hours after that. This made the experience great in 1.0, but the devs streamlined it even further in future updates. They buffed the detection ability of the loot mapper to make chests even easier, added a hover droid shooter to streamline challenges in mining, and gave every player, regardless of who they had on their active team or on their roster, the ability to precisely locate resources in the overworld. That's a feature that the devs isolate to a single gacha character in a single region.
Yeah, that's changed, I think. I think that's actually changed. I don't know if I'm wrong, but for Xilonen, whenever I wanted to find the flowers for her, I literally clicked a button and it showed me where it was. So I think that might be wrong now. Maybe you recorded this before the update came out, but I think that's actually changed. And you can find some of the materials around the world, unless he's getting at a different point. But
and it's a massively player-unfriendly development trend you can identify across almost every new feature in the game. It's safe to say that almost every single part of exploration in Wuthering Waves, be it climbing, loot tracking, or looting materials, is a better, more convenient experience for players compared to Genshin Impact. It's also safe to say that Genshin, with their inferior implementations, also locks almost all of their features behind the gacha or a massive amount of progression, effectively gating quality of life for players, unless they pay with money or their time. There's a reason why the Wuthering Waves exploration experience feels a bit short. You're not actively struggling against the game's systems to get things to 100%.
Yeah, that's why people have like kind of cleared it much quicker, because their traversal methods are so much easier. With the grapples, everything like that, that means you can get around the map quicker, which means you're going to explore the map quicker. And that's why, you know, whenever Wuthering Waves first came out, I saw like Tectone and that, they were, you know, 100% in the map in like no time, like in a couple of days. And that usually in Genshin would take you ages because you're there just kind of sprinting, and then you lose stamina. Oh god, now I've got to walk. And then you sprint again, and then I've got to walk again. And especially at the start of the game, whenever there was less characters that had traversal features, that must have really, really sucked. But like, now it's a little bit better with a lot of these characters. But again, as Saintontas is saying, you have to pay for it. You know, you have to kind of, you know, put in the grind or pay for it for this character to actually get these abilities in the first place, which a lot of people don't do, which means, you know, people explore the map less.
You're not artificially increasing your playtime by running out of stamina while scaling high cliffs. You're not wasting time tracking the horribly vague little wisp from treasure compasses or waiting for its dreadfully long cooldown between chests. You're not constantly alt-tabbing to a third-party map because the built-in detection systems are complete garbage. You're not waiting multiple daily resets to collect ascension materials for your characters, as the developers actually respect your time and don't.
That is really good. I think a lot of the ascension stuff with the characters and actually leveling up the characters themselves is so much better, and it's so much nicer to not have to kind of spend like multiple days just trying to level up one character.
Absolutely absurd. You're doing all of these things in Genshin Impact. You're spending more time waiting for cooldowns or simply navigating the game's convoluted overworld mechanics that are designed to sell characters and inflate your playtime rather than be an actual enjoyment.
Just curious, has Kuro made any sort of promise or commitment to not lock exploration or quality of life behind characters? I mean, I don't think they've made any commitment at all. They haven't really said anything. So maybe, you know, they might do it in the future, but not that I've heard. I think that, you know, honestly, from the trajectory that Kuro Games is taking, I think it's going to stay like this. Now, you know, so far, Kuro Games have been listening to us. Kuro Games have been making a lot of these updates, which have been very good for the community. But, you know, what's to say they're not going to change it in a year's time? But you could say that about pretty much everything. So currently, it seems like they're on a good track. But yeah, I'm not saying anything, just wondering if they said anything like that. No, yeah, I don't think I've seen anything.
Experience, and you can see all of these player degrading mechanics at full play across the entirety of Natland. The main reason for Wuthering Waves' stellar exploration experience is the fact that Kuro Games respects their players. They have enough confidence in their baseline game and systems that they don't need to bundle improvements with new character releases. They instead build those improvements into the default experience. What that means in the long run is that Wuthering Waves is only going to get better, especially in exploration, regardless of who you pull or when you.
If they're releasing a lot of these updates now for traversal, just think what they're going to release in 2.0 and in future updates, you know? They've already added so many new stuff, which again maybe was needed, but imagine all of the other stuff that they're going to add in the future, and we're not even, you know, past the first version yet.
You won't be locked out of new features unless you whip out your credit card. You don't have to commit a massive amount of time to simply unlock the features that make the game playable. It's crazy what happens when the devs focus on making a good game instead of a good revenue stream. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button.
Very, very cool video from Saintontas there. Again, I really love watching his videos. They're very, like, I don't know, they're kind of thought-provoking. Obviously, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff plastered around him being a Kuro shill, but obviously everyone gets called that. So honestly, I really enjoy his videos. I think they're great, and I'm just going to leave a link in the chat so you guys can go give it a like, go subscribe to him if you haven't already. And yeah, it'll be down in the description below on my second channel if you guys want to go see that as well. But again, that's a very, very cool video. It's kind of explored a lot of really cool stuff to do with exploration, and just kind of, you know, pointed out why Genshin Impact maybe is falling behind Wuthering Waves at the moment in terms of that kind of stuff. So yeah, overall, really good video, and I can't wait to see more from him.